What was it like getting engaged on reality TV? How was that experience?
Sun is coming up, are you ready to go? We can take a ride, we can take it slow, yo.
Well, welcome back to the Road to Self-Love. It's your boy, Paul Fishman, self-love coach and You Do You activist. So excited because I have Justin Anderson and Austin Rhodes on the show today. And first things first, you guys, welcome. I am so excited. I'm bummed that we're not in the car together driving around, but this will have to do for now. So the way that I like to start these shows is I personally believe that self-love is the devotion to your individuality, how you define yourself. So I'd love to know from both of you, how do you like to be known? How do you like to show up in the world? And how do you just enjoy being represented by yourself?
Oh, I love that question. I'm so into that kind of stuff too. And when I started doing my research on you, I was like so invested in what you're doing. I think it's incredible. I think it's incredible also to do it, like to be a gay man and have that like put out into the universe. I think that being a gay man brings its own struggles, but also just the gay community can. So I love like your positivity and whatnot. But with that question, for me, I always want to seem open and understanding. I want to be like somebody that people can always feel like they can communicate with. I want to be the most vulnerable version of myself. But that's like the biggest thing for me is just being completely present and vulnerable and open. And that's something that I've worked on my whole time as being an adult. Both my parents there was a lot of communication that happened in the house. And I just found that that's like the best way to get through life. And I think that a lot of people don't do that later in life. And that's where a lot of like issues start to happen is when you're closed off or you let your ego be your driver rather than just saying exactly what you need. So I'm all about vulnerability.
That's beautiful. What about you, Austin?
My goodness, I'm like going off of that one. That was a good one. I think honestly, just being like, for me, my biggest thing is just being kind and like also just, I don't know, this is the way I express myself. It's just like the way I'd want anybody to treat me, no matter who you are. Like, I think us is like being gay, like you already face so much adversity and stuff. So like when you are around other people, and I don't know, I think it's just good to sort of just show kindness and be sweet. And I don't know.
That's exactly him. He's also just being kind with his answer right now because that is who he is. And I don't want to speak for him, but I think that he's always tries to hold back. So it's not like he's putting any sort of negativity out there, but like Austin really is he is the kindest person I've ever met. In any situation he gets into, he puts kindness out there. He loves everyone right when he meets them. He doesn't come with any guards up or any expectations. And so we live in Nashville now, but one of the biggest reasons why we moved here is because Austin didn't love Los Angeles and he didn't want to be there. And I think that one of the hardest things for him being there was just seeing like all the guards people had up, and if somebody wanted something from you, maybe they'd be open to you. But if they couldn't get anything from you, they didn't really want to have like a conversation or get to know you. And he's all about being present, being kind, and getting to know somebody. So
that's such a powerful message. I especially think right here and now, as we're kind of confined and in this isolation, it's like all of our masks are starting to really come off, right? Or we're being forced to slow down and actually look in the mirror and be like, oh, wow, I didn't know that I was this way, or I've been numbing through the travel and the luxury and all this kind of stuff that just like work, right? So what would you say is like one of the biggest masks that you might be coming in contact with right now, and or that you are excited to look deeper in during this time?
For me, it's again such a good freaking question. I love this. These are things that like people need to talk about because that's what I feel like is the lesson that we're going to learn from this time, from quarantine. For me, I 100% masked my feelings with doing a million things every single day, right? Like I am super busy between coloring hair, having my own product line, and filming a reality show. And I had a podcast before, but I realized that I would fill up so much of my time. I wasn't necessarily running from anything, like luckily, like I don't battle depression as an adult. Like, I don't have a lot of anxiety, but I realized that like maybe the reason I didn't is because I never stopped and never like just sat in my thoughts. And so at this time in quarantine, like you can ask Austin, like I wake up and I just look at him and I'm like, here we are again, you know? And it's like, for me, I have had to learn how to slow everything down. And I'm looking at this time as a time for myself to just realize that like slowing down is where like better things are going to come from. I'm going to be more creative. I'm going to be more thoughtful. I'm going to connect with people that I didn't have time to before. But it has been really scary. So like for the first time in forever, like I have started getting really anxious, and I wake up really, really happy and positive all the time. But during this time, I wake up and I'm kind of like, what is my purpose? Who am I? If I'm not doing all the things that I did before, like what's going to happen to me? And it's like, the thing is nothing's going to happen to me. I was just on your Instagram and I was looking at the video and I was like practicing your breath work, because it's one of those things where it's like, you know, Austin will always say to me, he'll say, Justin, slow down, take a breath. And I'm like, Austin, stop. I don't want to do that right now. But he'll make me do it. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, but when I'm not working on that, I'm just doing a million things. So now in quarantine, it's like, no, bitch, take a breath, you know, like
Take a breath. I hear that.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, yeah, 100% for you. Just like keeping busy all the time. I feel like I do a good job of like kind of staying still all the time, and like just, I don't know, I can like fill up my days with little things and whatever, but now we really have no choice but to leave. And like, I know I'm going to have so much, like I have a lot of time to just sit around and sort of like think about things that you can just kind of put off, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to think about them, or like your own anxieties and things that like you sort of distract yourself from. And I don't know, I think it's just sort of like taking the time to really attack those things and like process them all and you have the time now to work through them. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yours?
Sure. So, I mean, mine right now is like control, you know, like this massive need to control everything. Even when I got the email about this interview, I was just like, nope, can't do it. We're not doing it in the car. It's not working. I was like, wait a second, Paul, like, you know, you have an opportunity to have a beautiful conversation, like release the need for perfection, release the need for it to be in control all the time. And this is like a constant thing as a small business owner and someone who's like empowering others to think outside of themselves and really live truly as they want to. It's important for me to like name those things. So a lot, like in my email newsletter and on Instagram, I'm always just like, hey guys, FYI, I'm not perfect. FYI, like I'm being really vulnerable here. I'm struggling just like the rest of us. And to like pinpoint what you said about the anxiety you're feeling, like a big message for me right now is like, collectively, there's so much more anxiety than ever. So like as an energetic being, we're all receiving other people's anxiety. So I've been empowering people to look at their anxiety and be like, is this really mine? Is that anxiety really yours? And that might be something powerful that you can try also. Like, what am I feeling anxious about actually? And is it something that is even mine?
Right. Yeah. So true.
Yeah. So I'd love to like take a little journey, because, you know, for me, self-love is like coming into who you are. And the reality is that we've all been on different journeys. We've all have different stories. And I'd love to know, like, was there a point in your life where you struggled with self-love? And within that, like, how did you find your way out of that? I know, like, for me being a gay man, like, there was points of like, I'm wrong. This is like lots of self-hatred. And I'm curious if like you had that experience as well, or something similar came up for you in your journey.
I think, I mean, that going off of that, like just being gay and like coming to terms with that, and like, I don't know, I had very religious parents and stuff. So like that was a big part of like, kind of kept it to myself, pretended like it wasn't a thing. I have a twin brother who's also gay, and like him and I both kind of knew, and like that was a big sort of part of our, like, we had to come out to each other. And then like, I don't know, just working through all of that and being able to like come to terms with it with the two of us, and then telling our parents or my mom, who was very religious, and then like having to tell my dad, and like all that kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
And mine's pretty similar too. You know, that's something that we connected on. I'm from a big Mormon family, so my family's very religious. And I really had those feelings, you know, when I very first started like understanding my sexuality in my head, that like I was attracted to men and I knew I was gay, but I had no one to talk to about it. And that was the time, you know, long ago when like I was so scared, and felt, that was when I was depressed and I had anxiety because I didn't know how I was going to deal with it. But I remember when I came out of the closet, when I told my dad gave me the biggest hug, and he's like, Justin, you've always been so supportive of your siblings, and I've watched you be the friend that everybody comes to, and they like lay their problems on you, and you listen and you love people. And he's like, so you deserve that too. And he's like, if anybody that you come in contact with doesn't understand who you are at your core as a gay man, like they're not worthy of your time. And he's like, you need to own that. And it was just interesting because like my dad's this big macho, obviously straight guy, and like hearing him say that and give me a big hug, I feel so lucky to have had that because it really gave me a lot of confidence. And I walked into situations like that. Like I can honestly say after that conversation, I never felt uncomfortable telling people that I was gay. And I really had this thing. I'm like, if somebody has a problem with me being gay, it has nothing to do with me. It's something that they're dealing with, and it's like from that day forward, I walked into every situation like, oh yeah, I'm a gay man, and it's like, if you have an issue with that, that's on you and whatever. And I think that when you take that power onto your own, it's a lot harder for people to put up a wall against you. If I walk in and be like, I think I'm gay, or hey, I have something to tell you, and you kind of like tiptoe around it, then that opens up the wall for them to kind of push you down. I'm like, no, bitch, I'm gay. Like I'm so gay, and there's no question about it. And that I had to take that power into myself,
I totally hear that. I feel that. It's my husband was raised Mormon as well, so I can understand that what you went through, like because of his journey as well, like fully. And my family was really spiritual as well, so we're all going through the same stuff. I think that's the beauty of like it's so easy to say I'm alone in this, but you're not alone. And if you're listening to this and feeling like really alone, know that like there are people just like you experiencing the same things that you're experiencing, regardless of where they are in life or who they are. Like we're all just humans on this journey.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I'd love to know a little bit about the experience of being on reality TV. It's a casual dream and desire of mine. So so I would just love to know, the insiders like opinion of like, are you happy you did I was scrolling through your Instagram and there you made a post really vulnerable about like not really liking the way that you were portrayed on one of the episodes and some of the actions that you've had, Justin, on the show. And I really loved that because, we're in this stage where we could blame the producers or we could blame X, Y, and Z, but taking ownership, like that's super brave. So I just love to know like your process of being on the show, if you are happy that you did it and everything in between.
So I've been friends with Kristen forever. Like we've been friends, for like over 15 years. And when Kristen asked me to be on the show, it was because I was looking to buy a place for us in Nashville. And she's like, oh, would you share it at all on the show? And I was like, yeah. And at first it was just going to be a very small part of the show. But once we got down here, we started filming every single day. And the producers really started taking on our storyline. And then we became full-time characters and they followed the whole journey. And I have to say, the thing that is different than I thought before coming on reality TV. Like it's a full-time job. Like it's exhausting. I mean, if you can think about taking what you do every single day and then just imagine a crew being there and everything you do has to be amplified, or you're kind of like, at first you're thinking about what you're saying in front of the camera, but then as time goes on, you just get used to it and you forget the camera's there. Yeah. But the biggest thing for me was like how exhausting it was. We would come home after filming and we would just like lay there and be like, oh my God, like I can't talk to anyone else. I can't do anything. Yeah. I mean, during filming, I was flying home all the time and taking care of my business, but it was a full-time job, super, super exhausting. But what you're talking about in Italy, I went back and watched that episode, and like you said, I couldn't blame it on anything. It's exactly what happened. But I can say that it's like, I think if a lot of us were really honest about everything that happens in your life in 6 months, there's going to be something that you're disappointed in, and if out of all of that, I mean, that was our dramatic moment, like we pride ourselves amongst each other as like, we both know we don't fight a lot. We really get along with good communication. But for me, seeing that, I was like, okay, wow, like, I drank too much and I wasn't aware of what I was doing. Naturally, I'm a flirtatious person. Like I'll flirt with girls. I'll flirt with like if the guy's handsome. Like even like I just told you, like your eyes are beautiful. Like whatever. Like I like making people feel good. But what I noticed from that episode was like, well, when I drink too much, like I flirt too much. so that was hard, and it was hard to watch for myself. Like I cringed, I was dying for him. I felt so bad for him.
And I think, I mean, we were just both on like I think that was like towards the end of the season of filming and everything. And like, we had just both reached a point, and like, it was a big trip. That was like the first or second day we were there. Like, we were just, I don't even know. We just hit a moment where I think we both had drank a lot, but like Justin, and I've said this so many times, like when Justin gets a little more drunk than I do, like I get really uncomfortable, and it's just like how it goes.
Because I'm always pretty much in control,
Yeah.
and I like to be in control, and I like to like be there. But he gets really nervous. You know, in the 6 years we've been together, the few times that I have gotten when I partied a little too hard, it makes him nervous, and I know that. But like we had been traveling, and it was just hard. It wasn't a cute look. But
listen, you know, we all have those. I think it's powerful because you had the opportunity to like literally have insight directly played back to you. And so that, and the beauty that I'm hearing is that you saw that, you embraced it, and now you're willing to empower yourself to change and take control. So I mean, a lot of people don't have that. So I'm seeing the silver lining there fully.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. You really can just reflect on everything when you go back and like rewind, like just as each episode came out, like it was just like, okay, like that's how this, or you know what I mean? Like you just kind of notice about yourself and like how you react, and I don't know.
Yeah.
You learn a lot about yourself.
He also really did not want to do reality TV. I'm like you. I've always thought, I'm like, reality TV would be fun. Like I like it. You know, it's like, it's fun. I'm not afraid. I don't have anything I want to hide from people. Like I'd show every part of my life, you know. He really didn't want to do it, reality TV at all. And so that also gave me a lot of anxiety. And on a trip like Italy, you know, they were filming around the clock while we're in Italy. Yeah. And I liked when he would get breaks. Like when we were in Nashville filming, we would have like the night times to ourselves, or like the weekends when we would get the weekends off, he got to take a break, and that made me feel safe for him. But in Italy, we were both just so anxious because there were cameras there the whole time. So it was like, what do you drink, you know?
Yeah, and we were in Italy. We were drinking a lot of wine. Like it is what it is. So.
I mean, that makes sense. If you're in Italy and not drinking wine, what's the point?
Exactly.
So what was it like getting engaged on reality TV? How was that experience?
I mean, it was very, we had talked about it, like going into the, like, I mean, midway through the season, like we'd always kind of talked about getting married and stuff, but it was a big thing where I was like, I don't think we should do this on camera, especially for me. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, how would that look? Like, my family was like, I don't really know about it. Like, it might take away from your guys' moment, that kind of thing. But as things kind of progressed, like we had talked about like maybe like next season, we could do something like that. But like, it was never anything, I don't know, that I thought would happen now, I guess. Mm-hmm. And Justin completely surprised me. And like in that moment it happened. And I think I was really, I was totally caught off guard. I had no clue it was going to happen. But I'm actually like silver lining, like looking back, I'm so happy that it did happen that way. Cause like you just lose all like memory. Like you don't know exactly how it happened. So to be able to actually watch it back and see it now, like it really made it that much, like that
special.
Yeah, it made it really special. And also just the way that Justin did it too. It was way more my kind of style. It was very low key, even though we had cameras around us. Like it was in our living room. We were having dinner where we always have dinner. And it was just sweet. Like had his sister, my brother, our favorite people. And it was, it just turned out really, really special.
So that was like the main thing. I wanted it to be something that was special to him, but we were both feeling that way. The producers, when they caught wind of the fact that like I wanted to propose to him once we got our house in Nashville, they were like, will you please do it on the show? And at first I was like, no way, like Austin won't like that. That's something private to us or whatever. But then as things started going on, I started thinking to myself, I was like, I remember being a little kid, like watching The Real World and seeing gay characters on reality TV for the first time. And I remember being like 15, being like, this is so cool. And like, I just like loved it. So then all of a sudden I started thinking like, what about like a 15-year-old kid who's on the couch with his mom and he's watching Barry Cavallari and he gets to see this gay couple in love in their new home in Nashville and they're proposing to each other. And I started thinking about that and I'm like, I want to share this with the world. Like, it all of a sudden like felt right. And it was one of those things where I started kind of hinting to Austin about it. I'm like, would you hate it if it was ever on the show or whatever? And he kind of was like, no, if it was done the right way, it'd be okay. But let's think about that like next season if we do another season. But then all of a sudden it went in that direction. And then, so my initial thing, like I want to do like fireworks on a beach, have all of our friends there, do this big thing. But I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to do it in a way that makes him completely comfortable. Just the two of us in our cozy house, our environment. And so that's what we went with. And it ended up being, we're both super proud of it. We're both really happy with the way that it happened.
And it was like our last day of filming too. It kind of worked out in the way that like we'd gone through all of this together. Like our whole relationship had like led us up to this moment, I guess. And like it just kind of made sense for us. Like, I don't know, like we're at this point now. We just got this house, we decorated it. It's like our place now. Like I don't know. Yeah. It made sense at the end of the day, looking back, like it was the way it should have happened, I guess.
I love that. That's so beautiful. I mean, I wish that I had a recording of our awkward engagement moment too. So, sorry.
How did you get engaged?
So I asked Richard to marry me when we were in Austin. We were actually thinking about moving there, and we were exploring the area. And we were at an Airbnb, and I had made a like photo book of like all of the selfies that we had taken together from like the first selfie to when like currently. And it was just like, I was like, look, I made this memory book of all these times that we spent together over the past, we had been together for 4 years at the time. And he was flipping through it, and at the end it said, you know, we've traveled so many different places together, we've done so many different things. And but the most important selfie is the selfie that we take right after we get engaged. And then I was like, they're like fumbling for the ring, and I was like, will you marry me? And he was just like, because I had kind of convinced him that I was expecting him to propose to me. Meanwhile, I was planning on doing it. So, you know, I love a surprise moment. He hates surprises, so definitely caught him off guard.
Okay.
But
yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing like, it's just such a moment. Like you just lose all control, I feel like.
Yeah, if you asked him to tell you how it went, it would be completely different, I'm sure. So I just have a couple more questions for you. And, you know, something that I like to ask every single person who comes on the show is, what does self-love mean to you?
I think self-love for me, honestly, would be, I feel like we all make mistakes in our lives, and like it's really easy to really hold ourselves to those mistakes and like that, like let them define you, I guess. But being able to sort of forgive yourself for those things and move on and like take it as a lesson and keep going. I think that's kind of where it's at for me.
Forgiving yourself?
Just being able to like forgive yourself and move on and like take things as a lesson and like use that to grow as a better person.
Yeah. I think for me, I've always been one of those people that like, I like to, I think just doing hair, like that's my business. Doing hair, you give so much of yourself to the person sitting in your chair, and you listen to them for the full time that you're with them, and you try to help them and whatnot. And that just became my routine. And so for me, I really needed to learn just in the past, like 5-6 years since we've been together, he's taught me a lot. I've had to learn how to say no, set boundaries, actually take care of myself, not be like, go to the gym and try to work on my physique so I look good for other people, not that kind of stuff. Like literally take care of myself. Like if I needed time to myself to be able to say no to people, or I'm sorry, I just can't show up to that. And that's what I learned as an adult is like the best way for me to self-love is to really take care of myself.
It's beautiful. So self-care is a big piece of self-love for you. And Austin, I love what you said about self-forgiveness. That's so powerful. And a lot of us forget, like we get so hyper-focused on all of the things that we've that people have done to us, but like, can you forgive yourself for being a part of that? And like, that's how I've moved on from so many experiences. So I love that that's your definition. And I have to share that I've done over 70 of these interviews, and I've never heard the same definition twice, which I just think really, really is so impactful in everyone knowing that self-love is totally individualized, and that's okay. And that's amazing. So final question, just curious, like what's next? Like, what are you excited for right now? And where can people find you?
I am excited for this next chapter in our life here in Nashville. I'm excited for us both to start planning a wedding and talking about kids.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. And you can find me on Instagram, Justin Anderson, or my hair color brand is DPHUE, and those are on Instagram.
Cool.
And I mean, like you said too, just like to really settle into our life here officially. Like it was kind of a whirlwind when we first got here filming and stuff. Now we have the downtime to sort of really just like live and be here. But yeah, and you can find me at Rhodes Austin on Instagram.
Amazing. This is beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the road. It's been such a pleasure. I've just really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to sharing it with my audience. And just remember that if you are listening to this message is for you and you alone. So pay attention because the universe wanted you to hear this message. We'll see you next time on the road to self-love.